Okay. Now, I have, over time, created a list of things to watch for. I've emailed the list to Andy so he can distribute this to you, these different points. A lot of them seem very similar, so I'm going to go through them and expand on each one. These are rules to live by. That's what I call it, my rules to live by. And if you can remind yourself of these rules to live by and use them in relation to the 5 questions every night, if you broke these rules or not, that's useful. It helps you know what you should have done or should not have done and so on. But if you could read these list of rules to live by every morning and every night and try to remember them through the course of the day and actually try to live by them, you will find a very significant transformation in your character and your life, of course. So the first is never speak badly about another person. Okay, it's obvious. You just don't say anything bad. This guy's an asshole, that guy's a thief, this guy's a jerk, blah, blah, blah. Unless, remember, there's always an exception. Every rule always has an exception. There's no steadfast rule. It's a sort of like, should you murder? Should you kill a baby? Well, that depends. Should I murder an adult? You know what? If he's coming to murder me and it's the only way to save my life, yeah, time to kill. That's justified. Should you murder a baby? Well, if you had the power to know that little Adolf Hitler was going to grow up to be what he was, maybe that's a baby that should have been killed at birth. It's always an exception. At least there's probably 50 million or so people who would agree with that little baby Hitler should have been killed at birth. So, never speak badly about another person unless somebody is asking you, I know this person, I'm going to do business, I'm going to date him, whatever it is. What do you think of him? Do you know anything? Then you have to be honest. Yes, this guy is a crook. He's cheated here, he's cheated there, and so on. This guy, went out, was dating one girl, but was going after others at the same time. Yeah, you should say. But you don't say anything on hearsay, only what you know for a fact. So never speak badly about another person unless it is specifically relevant that someone is asking you a question and you know for a fact that there's information that you could help prevent this other person from getting hurt or in trouble. Never try to show someone else's bad for the purpose of avoiding your wrongdoings. And this is something I'm sure you've all encountered, either in yourself or in others, where somebody, when shown they have done something wrong, will completely divert from that to attack you or somebody else. So you catch me lying, and you say, David, you were lying. And I say, yeah, but you lie. And you lied on this, and you lied about that, and you lied about that. Okay? So I want to show that you're a bad person, and that way I change the subject away from me admitting that I have lied. I've done something wrong. So never do that. You did it wrong, accept the responsibility, and do not attack anybody else or divert from that. Next one, do not speak of my achievements for the purpose of raising myself by lowering others. So I've learned, I've been in over 70 different countries. So when I'm with somebody and they're so proud to say, I've been to 12 countries, I've been to 20 countries, I've been to 40 countries, I've seen so much of the world. I don't tell them where I've been. I don't tell them, no, it's very nice, I've been to 70. No, keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything about yourself. Nothing of what you've achieved, if it is superior to what the other person is saying, because that's going to lower them, because you're better than them. So you keep your mouth shut. You don't need to say anything. Okay? If they directly ask you, and how many places have you been? You say, yeah, I've been to quite a few. You can always say something in a way that is an answer and yet does not lower somebody else, putting them down, and make yourself look good. Okay? Especially don't do it on purpose. The next one, never try to prove that someone else is wrong to show I am right. So the other one, never try to show someone else is bad for the purpose of avoiding my wrongdoing. This is avoiding my mistake. But now I want to show I'm right about some argument. It's one thing to prove you're right by the evidence. If I say I have $100 in my pocket and I pull out $100, proving I'm right, fine. But if I say I have $100 and I don't, or I'm not sure, and I say to someone else, yeah, but you don't have the money you said you have in your pocket, you're wrong. Okay? So therefore, I'm right. It's again the same thing. It's attacking someone else to avoid responsibility on yourself. That may not be the best example, but the idea is don't try to make someone look bad to make yourself look good. Okay? It's a subtle difference. You see, even if I am right about something, I shouldn't need to show that you are wrong about it. Like, okay, maybe a better example is we're having an argument, and you say it's black, I say it's white. Okay, I like this example better. Forget the other one about the money. I don't know how to edit this clip, and I don't have to start again. So, you say black, I say white. We do whatever it is, I'm right. Okay, see, now you're wrong. Because you're wrong, I'm even more right. Okay? You don't need to gloat on being right when the other is wrong. I told you so. I told you so. Never say, I told you so. Got to stop that. All right? I think that's a better example. Next one. Do not pick on or point out other people's faults. That's obvious, right? If somebody is always late, a little bit late, you can deal with it. You don't need to tell everyone, look, he's always late. You don't need to pick on their faults. Now, the first thing that's going on in your mind is, what did I do to Chris when he screwed up with the Skype? Again, there's always an exception. Sometimes you have to pick on people's faults. They need a slap in the face to wake up. If somebody is always late to your meetings and they think they're on time, you need to tell them. And if you tell them after years and years repeatedly and they still don't change, then maybe you need to make it a stronger telling, which means in front of other people. Okay? So there's an exception. If somebody is consistently causing trouble in their life, in your life, in other people's lives, and they are not fixing it, then it's okay to pick on their fault because they need a slap in the face. But this rule, do not pick on or point out other people's faults, is if it is somebody that you don't have anything to do with. You see them once here or there. There's no significant damage to them or anyone else with their fault. They don't really want to learn. The biggest thing, people don't want to learn. They don't want to change. If someone hasn't asked you to point out what they need to fix, then keep your mouth shut. That's simple. Okay. Next rule. Admit the truth of my negative emotions, anger, bitterness. Do not try to deny my feelings. Okay. My parents, funny enough, both of them, whether they learned it from each other or one learned from the other, or they just both happen to be that way, can go like this, get really angry, steaming, and this, I'm not angry, I'm very happy, I'm not angry. Okay. It's true. There's no exaggeration. It's so amazing. So if you are depressed, angry, bitter, a lot of things, you have regrets, bitterness that are subtle throughout your life, don't deny it. You must see and admit to yourself the truth about your negative feelings and emotions. Don't hide anything, but see it objectively. Don't dwell on it and make it worse. Just see it objectively. Yeah, I am actually, what I said, I don't hold grudges, but actually I do hold grudges. Or, I'm not really a bitter person. No, no, no. I always thought, oh, I'm a happy, easygoing person. But, oh, shit, I missed that out. I missed that opportunity. Oh, I regret that. Okay? These sort of things. Look for the truth of what your feelings really are, the negative ones. Okay? The next rule, always admit when I'm wrong. Okay, this is easy enough. Whenever you found out that you are wrong, no matter how long after the event, you must always say, I was wrong. Go back to whoever was involved and admit your mistakes. Okay. The next rule, beware not to take portions or sections out of a sentence to select only the words to prove your point. Okay, or prove my point. People always doing this. You can write a letter of 6 paragraphs, for example, and the other person will just read certain words that will justify their opinion and totally distort what you've said, or you will do that. You'll see some letter, you'll see some information, and you'll pick out the words just to justify what you're doing so that you feel good and better and justified, and yet that's not what was said. So you have to be very careful when reading emails, messages, or talking to really get the whole sentence, And if you look at it, sometimes it can be one letter, but certainly a very small word, like whatever it is. I can come to see you tomorrow, or I cannot come to see you tomorrow. Not one small word totally changes the events. If you look at a lot of things you read, you'll find where one tiny word, maybe a letter, something like that, totally changes something to mean the exact opposite of what was intended. So you have to be very careful when you are communicating or reading that you do not subconsciously and through a lovely buffer and fragment which distracts you for a moment, then back to the text, and miss a word here or there which changes the meaning. So be very careful not to do that for any reason, but especially you're going to do it when you want to prove your point, because the ego mind always wants to be right. That's why all of these rules go together. The ego mind always wants to be right, so it will use the other aspects of the machine, the buffers, the fragments, to make sure that your consciousness reads something twisted so that it can be right. Okay? And then it defends that point. And then you have the dialogue where two people are talking to themselves. Okay? Next rule. Acknowledge objectively what other people think of me, if they hate me or if they like me, whatever their emotions are towards me, and find the true cause of their opinion of me. Okay. Now, this is both ways, because if people like you, then your self-esteem can be verified. In other words, if you have low self-esteem and you think you're a stupid, horrible, useless person, but yet a lot of people like you, well, then you're not as bad as you think you are. So it's a way of battling low self-esteem. If you don't think you're competent, but people trust you, again, battling low self-esteem, but it establishes who you are. On the other hand, if you think you're very competent, but nobody trusts you, and you don't understand, why does no one trust me? Why do people, when I say, yeah, we're going to have lunch next week, they go, yeah, sure. There's one fellow, I don't know, a year and a half. I see him every, I don't know, a few weeks or once a month or a couple of months. I see him at the pool here. And he always says, oh, we're going to get together. I'm going to call you. We're going to have coffee. Let's get together and chat. I really want to sit down and chat with you. For like a year and a half, this guy's been saying that. So the last time I saw him, and he said that, he's an English guy, very wealthy, mature, extremely intelligent, really a model of what a gentleman should be. Anyway, and so the last time I saw him and he said that, I said, listen, Tim, no offense, but I really don't take you seriously. And he's, I got to admit, you're right. As always, something comes up. Okay. So, see, he handled it correctly. Yeah, you know what is true? I've been saying this for a long time and I've never come through. I admit it. That's why I say he's a good fellow, So what are you? What do people think of you? Good and bad is what you really are. So that's why it's very important to acknowledge objectively what people think of you. Like, okay, you're dating somebody, they're in love with you, you break up with them. They're going to hate you, possibly. I mean, it happens, right? Oh, he's a bastard and this and that. Okay, this one you don't take seriously because it's coming from a broken heart. So you objectively take these negative feelings and realize that they are coming from a broken heart, someone who's been hurt, so then you don't take that as a serious reflection on your character. That's why I said acknowledge objectively, which means taking into account where it's all coming from. Okay, so find out objectively what anybody's emotions are towards you, and then what is the true cause of their opinion to see what is your conduct really like. Who are you really like? Okay, the next law, eliminate the need to prove that I am right. If I know for myself what is right, I do not need to prove it. Otherwise, I doubt myself. So if I see that I'm right, I believe I'm right, but I have to prove it. I've got to show you. No, and someone say, yeah, I trust you. No, I'm going to prove it. I've got to show you. Even if they accept it, this is showing very insecure ego. You doubt yourself tremendously. So this law is a way of reflecting upon your own view of yourself. And do you say things that you yourself do not know are true or not? Is your ego very insecure? That's from one point of view. You're examining what you really are. So you don't do that. If you feel the need to do that, then you have to examine, am I really so sure about what I'm talking about? So that's the other side, the other line, the last line of it. Otherwise, I doubt myself. So if I need to prove that I am right, that means I don't trust myself, which means I was not paying attention at the time I did whatever it is or got this information. So if you find yourself needing to prove you are right, this is giving you material to observe in yourself on your self-esteem, on your ability to pay attention and do things right, and on actually probably shows that you're not a very competent person because you're doubting yourself. You doubt yourself. That's why you have to prove it. You're not just proving it to other people, you're proving it to yourself. So this particular law has many different aspects. It could be self-doubt, it could be a feeling of incompetency and inferiority, it could be an ego, it could be an arrogance to make sure you really prove to everyone you're always right so that they will trust you all the time even when you're wrong. So there's a lot of things. So this is a very interesting law that it has many other implications that are subtle, which you won't know for a long time until you actually do that in the process of observing yourself and stopping yourself every time you feel the need to prove you are right. And observe your feelings at that time. Where's that coming from? And the last law, getting emotional in a battle. You must not let the ego get involved in any argument or disagreement. Okay? So when you are in a fight, in an argument, in a conflict, Are you dealing with it objectively? And that's what all these other laws are going to help you discover. Are you objective, or are you scared? Are you, just trying to prove you're right just to be right because you're too scared of being seen wrong, and so on? So in the process of following the other laws, they're preparing you for the times that you have an argument, you're in a conflict situation, and you can see if you're getting emotional about it and if you're losing your head, losing your mind, and not actually dealing with it objectively with the facts, or if you're dealing it by breaking one of the other laws. Okay? So these are the rules to live by that I've created for myself. So these are things I do for me, which means that they're useful to you, maybe some, maybe none, maybe all, but you can create your own laws for yourself. Examine yourself, examine your life with this concept in mind, and make up your own laws to live by, your own rules to live by. What do you think is right? I didn't put things like honor my word, keep my promises, pay my debts. I don't need to put those rules there, because after many decades, I am quite well established that I know those factors, those things are perfect. They are quite well perfected. And I know that because I acknowledged objectively what other people think of me. People have given me money to manage for them, invested me hundreds of thousands of dollars. They don't ask for a contract. They don't ask for a receipt. Imagine somebody, and this is not just once, but many times, someone's going to give you, here's $100,000, David, please, I trust you to take care of it for me. I said, you want a receipt, your contract? No, I trust you. Okay? You get this happen enough times, you know that you're an honest, trustworthy person, I can go and take things, buy things, and they say, yeah, take it, you can pay me later. I trust you. So I know I pay my debts. Okay? People I go to for favors, they're always ready to help me. Not that that happens all too often, but at any rate, because they know I pay my debts. Okay? So that's where you acknowledge your objectivity. Acknowledge objectively what other people think of you, because then you can see who you are. And in that law, you can refine the laws you need to live by. So for example, if nobody will trust you, then your law has to be to keep your word, pay your debts, whatever the situation is. Okay? So you can work with these, make up your own as you wish, and all of this is following through with the course, with the All is Mind work. Because we've shown you in All is Mind how the machine works, the parts of the machine, where it's broken, where it's defective, where it needs to be fixed. How can you adapt it? All right. That's the machine. These laws to live by, this principle is now, what am I going to do with that machine? We are assuming by now that you have begun working on the machine and have started to make some changes to it, started to reduce the fragmentation, reduce the buffers, at least by acknowledging them. We assume that you're starting to see events through what is the event and what is your nature. And are you reacting with the correct aspect of your nature, which is appropriate to the situation? So as you've been doing all of that, you're ready, theoretically now, assuming you have been doing something, or at least thinking about it, to start changing the way you live in combination with all that information. Because there's nothing to do. You sit and wait, basically. You want to change your being? You've got to wait for something to happen in order for you to have the opportunity. It's kind of like playing badminton. If my opponent never throws the shuttlecock to my side, what am I going to do? I'm not going to jump here and jump there and swing my racket here and there. There's no shuttlecock coming. Badminton is, or tennis, whatever, ping pong, any of these games. They're a beautiful analogy for self-development. You cannot do much until something comes at you to react to. That's why the path of isolation and being a hermit for average people is total waste of time. You cannot alter your being by sitting alone in a cave because you'll never be challenged to see how you react. You've got to be in the world, and events will happen. And as they happen, then all this knowledge, which should be in your head, will make you respond automatically, to think, to consider, and so on. Okay? So you can start working with these laws, and then I don't know where I'll be next weekend. But anyway, we can keep doing this. You can send in your emails with the questions, and I can make videos for you in response. Okay? Good night.